Hi class, welcome back. Now we are going to have another new lesson for today. Here in Understanding the Self, we are already finished on Chapter 1. Now let's proceed on Chapter 2, Unpacking the Self, Lesson 1, The Physical and Sexual Self, Part 1. So this is only the first part of the next 4 series of this lesson. Okay, in our previous, I've asked you by groups to do a reproductive or make a poster of reproductive system of both females and males. Now we are going to talk more about it. In this lesson, we are going to have lesson 1 of chapter 2, the physical and sexual self, part 1. Now let's go to the next page. Now, the lesson objectives of this chapter, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to, first, discuss the developmental aspect of the reproductive system. 2. Describe the erogenous zones. 3. Explain human sexual behavior. 4. Characterize the diversity of sexual behavior. 5. Describe sexually transmitted diseases. And 6. Differentiate natural and artificial methods of contraception. Now again, before we proceed to this lesson, I've asked you to do a poster of the difference between the reproductive system of the female and the reproductive system of the male. Now we are going to talk about the reproductive system and its development. Specifically the developmental aspect of the reproductive system. Now let's go to the next page. Alright, so now you were in the grouping session, you were able to identify the differences between the reproductive system of the female and the males. Now let's continue. Okay, let's talk about the gonads. The gonads, the reproductive glands that produce the gametes, testis or ovary. Now, before our reproductive system, specifically for the female and the male, was produced, it all started with the gonads. The gonads, these are the glands that produces our unique reproductive system, wherein we have the testes for the males and ovaries for the females. Again, the gonads are the ones who produce the reproductive system for both the females and the males. So again, for the females, we have the ovaries, and the males, we have the testes. Now, the gonads begin to form until about the 8th week of embryonic development. So when we say embryonic development, this is the phase where the embryo started to emerge. Okay, let's go back. Again, when fertilization happens, where the egg and the sperm cells meet, that's the process of fertilization, the embryo started to grow. The embryo is the small version, the small version of the human before it turned into a fetus. Okay, so in here, the gonads begin to form on the 8th week of the embryonic development, meaning while the embryo is still growing, before becoming a fetus, it will start developing. The gonads help to develop the reproductive system. Alright, so again, it started on the 8th week of the embryonic development. Now, during the early stages of human development, the embryonic reproductive structures of males and females are alike and are said to be in the indifferent stage. So while the embryo is still growing, the reproductive structures of both the male and the female are something that are alike, but they are in different stages. So it looks like it's the same on its initial stages while the embryo is still growing, but they are different. Let's know why. Let's go to the next page. The formation of male or female structures depends on the presence of testosterone. Testosterone. Again, like what I've mentioned a while ago, while the embryo is growing, the gonad glands are also developing, giving us the initial stages of the development of the reproductive system. So the male and the female reproductive system looks alike at first, but they have in different stages. Now this is due to the presence of the testosterone. So as you can see here, the formation of male or female structures depends on the presence of the testosterone. So it mentions here that both male and female have a testosterone. So what is testosterone? Testosterone is it is a hormone that helps the development of both the female reproductive system and the male reproductive system. It helps on the sexual development. And also, because of the presence of the testosterone, both in the female and the male, some female looks like or has characteristics of a male because of the testosterone. Again, both male and female has a testosterone. So the testosterone for male, these are the ones who produce or help to produce the sperm production. While in female, it helps develop the reproductive system and sometimes maintains it. The female testosterone is minimal compared to the male testosterone. Sometimes oversupply of the testosterone in females tends to have some females to have hair on their above their mouths and also on their cheeks. So that's why some females have looks like they have bigote, all right. And also other females tend to have a very bad odor because of the presence of testosterone, and some females also have a lot of pimples because of it. So again, testosterone is present both in male or in female. The embryonic testes release testosterone, and the formation of the duct system and external genitalia follows. Like what I've mentioned in my previous slide, the production while on the embryonic development, the development of the reproductive system is also developing already. So in here, the testosterone helps the development of both of the reproductive system of both female and the male. And once the duct system is already formed, that's when the child or the embryo becoming a fetus will start to grow a penis or a vagina. All right, again, testosterone helps to develop the sexual organ or the reproductive system or the external reproductive system of the both male or female. Female embryos that form ovaries will cause the development of the female ducts and external genitalia, since testosterone hormone is not produced. So in here, the role of the testosterone in females help form the ovaries. Okay, and then it will form the female ducts and also the external genitalia, which is the vagina. All right, now let's go to the next page. Any intervention with the normal pattern of sex hormone production in the embryo results in strange abnormalities. So while the child, yes, while the after fertilization the embryo started, if there are abnormalities that occurred on the hormones, specifically on the testosterone and many other hormones, it can result in abnormalities. And some abnormalities are really strange. Now let's go to the first one. The first abnormality is PseudoHermaphrodites. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Again, that's PseudoHermaphrodites. PseudoHermaphrodites are formed who are individuals having accessory reproductive structures that do not match their gonads. All right. So just to be clear, the gonads now in here pertains to the reproductive system of the female and the reproductive system of the male. So in here, when you say pseudohermaphrodites, a person whose gonads, again female reproductive system of the male and or the female, are consistent with the chromosomal sex, which is the XX or the XY, but who has external genitalia of the opposite sex. Meaning, a person who is diagnosed who is diagnosed with pseudohermaphrodites has the internal of their gonads, or if that's a female, they have the uterus, the ovaries, the fallopian tube, the cervix, and many more. Okay, and if that's a male, they have the testes and a prostate gland and many more. A person who suffers pseudohermaphrodites, for example, we have Cleo. Oh, I'm sorry, not Cleo. We have Lisa. Okay, so Lisa is a female. She's a girl. She looks like a girl. So she has the female reproductive system. Now, if she is suffering with pseudohermaphrodites, she may have a female reproductive system, but at the same time, externally, she will have a penis. So as you can see there, Lisa has the XX chromosomal functions in her body. So she has a uterus, ovaries, fallopian tube, and many more, wherein a female does have. Now, but when you look at her on the outside, she has a penis. So that's a pseudohermaphrodites, a person who suffers with a different genital organ outside, but is have the same or consistent organ on the inside, depending on her on her sex rather. So that's pseudohermaphrodites. The next one, we have the hermaphrodites. Hermaphrodites are individuals who possess both ovarian and testicular tissues, but this condition is rare in nature. So people who are individuals who suffer hermaphrodites have the same ovaries and testicles at the same time. Let's have an example. We have Alex. Alex is a male, so he has a reproductive system of the male. Now, he also have an external genitalia of the male, which is the penis rather. Now, he suffers hermaphrodites. That means that he does not only have the reproductive system of the male, he also have the reproductive system of the female. Sometimes, not all of it. Sometimes they just have the ovaries or the uterus. Some men, that's why some men can have menstruation every month. But this is again a rare condition. I think it's in Jessica Soho TV series that showed a man who suffers here in the Philippines who has hermaphrodites. So I do suggest that you watch that to know more information about this. Okay, so that's it. So we have the pseudo-hermaphrodites and we also have the hermaphrodites. Now, let's talk about puberty. Puberty is the period of life when the reproductive organs grow to their adult size and become functional under the influence of rising levels of gonadal hormone, testosterone in males, and estrogen in females. Now, when we hit puberty, that it's the time where um, the male the male started to have pubic hair. I mean, both male and female will start to have pubic hair in the sensitive parts, also in the underarm and on the other parts of the body. So that is the time. That is the time where that's also the time where the reproductive system started to mature into an adult. So the male started to rise their testosterone simulation, is if that's the right word. Okay, and then in the females, they will start to have menstruation. So that is due to the rising levels of the gonadal hormones. Again, the gonadal hormones are from the gonads, which is the hormones to help which are the hormones to help to develop the reproductive system. All right. So this is also the time where young people or some young people like teenagers got pregnant because of the puberty. Now, let's talk about the diseases associated with the reproductive system. So let's start with the female. In females, we have the vaginal infections, are most common in young and elderly women and in those whose resistance to diseases is low. Vaginal infections that are left untreated may spread throughout the female reproductive tract and may cause pelvic inflammatory disease and sterility. So vaginal infection pertains to the infection of the vagina of the women. So in here, if there is a vaginal infection, it can cause pelvic inflammatory diseases. And not only that, a woman can get infertile if not treated early. We will talk more about the female reproductive diseases in the next series of these videos. All right, so again, the first one would be the vaginal infections, and it can cause infertility, or infertility pertains to women not having a baby. Now, all right, the picture was moved. So now they have the Escherichia coli. I'm sorry if I think I don't pronounce it. I wasn't able to pronounce it correctly. But in short term, it's E. coli. So Escherichia coli is also known as E. coli. E. coli, which spread through the digestive tract, the sexually transmitted microorganisms such as syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes virus, and yeast, a type of fungus. Now, E. coli is actually a bacteria in the digestive tract, but it can be sexually transmitted because it can be, sexually transmitted. So once the E. coli is transmitted sexually, it can form syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes virus, and also yeast. Now let's talk about syphilis. Syphilis is a painless sore on the genitals, rectums, or mouth. So it likes okay, so in Filipino words, it's like pamamaga, or yes, it looks like pamamaga. It turns so red. In circle, it can be in circles, small, in different sizes. So it is painless. It just shows. So there are no issues on scratches or many more. It looks like pimples or whatever, but they are painless. Okay. So sometimes, oftentimes it can be found in the genitals. It means on the penis or the vagina, and the rectum, wherein the anus or the or in the puet, and the mouth. All right, so that's the syphilis. Now we also have the gonorrhea. Gonorrhea affects the urethra, the rectum, or throat. Okay, so in females, it's in the cervix. So gonorrhea is an infection that can affect the urethra, which is where it connects the urine bladder and enables a person to pee or urinate. That's the urethra, and the rectum, again, that's on the anus, and the throat. So it affects those areas. But in females, it affects specifically on the cervix. So the cervix is the one that connects the vagina to the uterus. So that small tube that connects it, that's what's affected if a female is infected with gonorrhea. And we also have the herpes. Herpes is a herpes virus is a common STD, or sexual transmitted disease. So it shows like blisters to form in or around the mouth or genitals. So small blisters. Parang I'm not sure how it looks like specifically, but it looks like small. I'm not sure, pimples like. So it forms around the lips and the genitals, and also we have the yeast, or a yeast in food is called parang amag. Okay, it looks like white something, but in here the yeast pertains to the yeast, or the different kind of, it's a different kind of yeast, specifically happens in females because of vaginal infection. Okay, so I'm not sure how it looks like. My apologies on that. I'm trying to avoid imaginary something, but that's what happens if someone gets an infection, or gets an infection due to E. coli or Escherichia coli. Alright, next we have the painful or abnormal menses, may also due to infection or hormone imbalance. So if someone, having a painful menstruation is often common to women. So I think 80% of women experience this. So I myself experience this, but it can cause by different things. Okay, it might be due to infection, or simply an hormone imbalance. Hormone imbalance pertains to the presence of the testosterone and many more. Okay, and then we have the tumors. Tumors of the breast and cervix are the most common reproductive cancers in adult females. So if a woman have a tumor, or she will have a breast cancer or a cervix cancer. Cervix, again, that's the one that connects the vagina to the uterus. Now let's go to the males. In males, common inflammatory conditions are prostatitis, urethritis, and epididymitis, all of which may follow sexual contacts in which sexually transmitted diseases, STD, microorganisms are transmitted. So in males, if someone has or contracted a sexually transmitted disease, he will have prostatitis. Prostatitis is the inflammation of the prostate gland. The prostate gland is the organ that produces the semen. Again, the semen these are the ones that can produce a baby once fertilization happens. Okay, so the organ that produces semen got inflamed, meaning namamaga. Okay, so if a male experiences an STD or sexually transmitted disease, he will have a prostatitis. Next, we have the urethritis. Urethritis is the inflammation of the urethra of the male. Okay, so urethra is the one that connects the urinary bladder to the urinary meatus that enables the man to urinate. Okay, so again, the urethritis is the pamamaga of the urethra. And then we also have the epididymitis. Okay, so the science terms are really hard to mention. Epididymitis is the inflammation of the epididymis. So the epididymis is the tube where sperm passes. Okay? So again, this one, pamamaga ng epididymis. Alright, so this can all can be transmitted once their partner also have the say have certain microorganisms that make the inflammation of these organs. Alright, so we also have the orchiditis. Orchiditis, I hope that I've mentioned that correctly. Orchiditis, or inflammation of the testes, can cause sterility and most commonly follows moms in an adult male. Alright, so orchiditis is the pamamaga of the testis. Again, the testis is the one that produces testosterone, which the testosterone helps the man develop his sexual organ and, of course, makes him masculine. So if the testis is inflamed, it can cause sterility, or again, he can no longer have a woman pregnant. So if the testis is inflamed, he can no longer have a baby. And most commonly follows moms in an adult male. So sometimes moms, or what we call the beke in Filipino terms, causes the orchiditis. Alright, so that's why having moms, if the male have moms on his adult in his adult times, there might be chances that he might have in the future orchiditis. Now we have the prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, a common sequel to prostatic hypertrophy, is a widespread problem in adult males. So this occurs often in adult males. When we say prostatic hypertrophy, it is where the prostate organ is enlarged, or malaki siya compared to the normal one. So the prostatic hypertrophy, once the prostate is big, it can lead to prostate cancer or the tumor in the prostate gland. So it says here that it is widespread and problem in not most, but in adult males. Alright, so although aging men show a steady decline in testosterone secretion, their reproductive capability seems unending. Meaning in here that though that their testosterone decreases as they grow older, they can still get a woman pregnant. Okay, so that's why there are some jokes that even an old man can get a woman pregnant. All right.